It's time for some straight talk. The big wireless companies charge a boatload for their superior network coverage. But guess what? Straight Talk uses the same cell towers but charges a lot less. Who knew? Well, now you do. And I do. So let's do something. It's time to switch to Straight Talk. Unlimited plans start as low as $35 a month on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Happy Friday, everybody. Good morning. Welcome into Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Glad you're with us on the Friday before Christmas.
Yeah.
We are here. We are ready to roll. We are jacked. We are pumped. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And if, Mike,
yes,
you are consuming us on ESPN2, look at what you've made me do.
Yes, I have made, I was wearing different holiday sweaters and shirts all week, and I have mine on today. I have on Santor, not like Centaur. You know,
half Santa, half Centaur.
Think of the Sagittarius sign,
yes.
Half man, half horse, and I have Santa. It's Santor, not Centaur. Yeah. And it's a buffed out Santa, which I really like. And on Trey, the wife got you, my wife bought this Chris, for all of us, got you this sweater. It has candy canes, decorations on it, and the best thing about it, it has blinking lights. You are blinking right now. Yeah. That's awesome.
That's certainly a word for it.
Yes.
That's certainly
Is awesome not the word you're thinking of?
Certainly a word for it.
Let me, come on, and be honest.
Yeah.
You tell me it couldn't have been that long ago you wore a blinking shirt.
I don't think I've ever worn a blinking.
So this is the first.
This is the first.
All right.
Now I will say the battery pack and the amount of wires.
It makes you a little nervous.
I'm a little uncomfortable that I may be frying some internal organs.
As I said, it can't be that much voltage, right?
We'll find out.
Here would be fun. We'll do it at the end of the show just in case it really does something to you. We'll throw a bucket of water on you.
See what happens.
We'll see what goes on.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
I think that'll fit in one of my favorite Twitter accounts that I follow, the Darwin Awards.
There you go. That's exactly right.
I think that will sort of lend itself to that. So anyway, we hope you are ready. Yeah. It's just 3 days away. Are things peaked at the Golic household?
Well, listen, I couldn't have been more excited. I woke up this morning and felt it was a little cold in the bedroom, looked at the thermostat, and we have no heat. So I have that going for me.
What happened?
And I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm trying to be nice and wait at least till 7 to text the heating and cooling company that I use to say and I'm glad it happened on a normal day,
right?
Not the Friday, December 23rd, right? Or I'm sorry, the December 22nd,
right?
You know, and this holiday weekend. So couldn't have happened at a worse time.
Christmas Eve might have been worse.
Yeah,
Christmas Eve might have been worse.
I didn't want to wake up Chris, but I wrote her a little note, said you're going to be really cold when you wake up. I believe it's in the 50s in our upstairs right now. So that's going to have to get fixed. So that's what I'm dealing with right now.
Well, it's look, I've been there.
Yeah.
We bought a new house and moved into it 2 years ago, right around this time. And the first night in the house, the heater blew and the carbon monoxide sensors went off.
Oh, there you go.
And the fire department had to come because apparently the venting of the house it was coming back into the house.
That's not good.
So if we had not had the carbon monoxide alarm, really bad.
Could have been in trouble.
Really bad.
Would have been Golic and someone else.
It would have been, yes, Golic and.
Yeah.
It would have been. Welcome to Golic and. We're glad you're with us.
Fill in the space.
But so I'm glad we got everybody off to a feel-good portion
we did.
of the weekend. You have no heat, and we almost didn't make it here.
All the bad things going on right now.
What else could possibly go wrong?
We are in our Christmas sweaters. Hembo's back for the day.
Hembokitis.
Hembo researching on Mike and Mike for I don't know how many years. Had to be at least a year and a half.
2.5 years, Golic.
I thought it was even shorter than that.
Something for Mike and Mike that I remember.
Yeah.
You once, I believe, around the holidays, had your cable go out.
Oh, yes.
You called the cable company out on the air, and it was fixed by the end of the show. I think you should do the same this morning.
It was pretty nice. And
I think he just did, actually.
He didn't name the company.
You didn't. They know who they are. They know who they are.
You know who you are.
I did it
and
a little
you were
more.
In trouble.
I did it with a little. I did it with some subtlety.
With some panache.
There you go.
With some panache.
Some of that. Is that a food?
It can be.
All right.
But only in France.
Good to have Hembo back for the day, and everybody else is, Cliff will be playing the Christmas music all day.
Cliff will be rocking it. This is our last show before Christmas.
And your daughter is here for some reason.
For some
reason, she decided to come here at 6 in the morning Eastern time.
Chelsea is living out in L.A. She's home for the holidays, and she's taking a screenwriting class
cool.
at UCLA, and one of the things she's writing on is a project that has to do something with a radio show. She's like, can I come in and be here? I'm like, why?
Yeah, why?
Why would you want to do that?
Why'd you come in for the last couple hours of the show? And screenwriting,
the
next, I can't even think of what the next thing. Golic and writing will never be in the same sentence.
Yes.
Ever.
Well, that's why it's not the name of the show. Golic and writing.
No,
that would be bad. Yeah, what she's learning how to do is not do a radio show great to start the first hour.
There you go.
That's exactly what she's learning.
Then she's learning right now.
So if nothing else, we've passed that along.
Well, that's how
then we've contributed. Mm-hmm. They say if you reach one person, kids.
That's it.
If you reach one person,
it's good you reached your kids.
There you go.
It's good parenting.
It was not really a big reach. But I am going to start with this reach, and we'll start this show now with...
It's time for... Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start off the top with the bad news that sometimes unicorns aren't real.
Boy, oh boy.
Kristaps Porzingis went 0 for 11 from the field, making him the second 25 points per game scorer in the shot clock era to go 0 for 10 and worse in a game, but the other one was Elgin Baylor.
Yeah.
So he's in good company.
That is good company.
But teammate Michael Beasley stole the show as the Knicks beat the Celtics.
Yeah, so first Porzingis, you remember he missed a couple of games with that sore knee that he said buckled, didn't have a lot of strength in it. So 0 for 11, had 1 point in the game, 0 for 7. The 0 for by a 7-footer in the last 30 seasons. He's in the company of now Andrew Bynum, Matt Geiger, and Chris Kaman. But as you mentioned, Beasley had the 32 points in 25 minutes. Knicks also won their 15th home game of the season. That's tied with the Spurs for the most this NBA season. Pretty impressive. Right now they're 16-14. They're in the 8th slot, but 15-5 at Madison Square Garden. It's the first time the Knicks have won as many as 15 of its first 20 home games in any season since 1999. So getting it done at home, even without the unicorn.
Well, look, and you always want your fans to be fanatics because they have bias and they don't really think about things through. They were chanting MVP for Michael Beasley last night.
Well, there you go.
So, hey, soak it in. By the way, this is great. You have a hot game like that. They asked him after the game on when he started feeling the hot hand. He said January 9th, 1989. That was his birthday.
Nice. So there you go.
I give him props for that answer.
Yeah.
I thought that was very good. But the MVP chance, let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes. We continue.
Off the top.
Staying in the NBA, Cavs cooled off the Bulls, which is something no one has been able to do lately. They beat a 115-112, snapping Chicago's 7-game winning streak. Braun finished the game with 34, 6, and 9. Isaiah Thomas reinstated to the Cavs roster, then dressed for the first time since coming to Cleveland in that trade.
Yeah, but he's not gonna. He's been ruled out for the Christmas Day game against the Warriors. That's the next big game. Obviously, all those Sunday games that we have, he won't be playing in that one. Steph Curry won't be playing in that one either for Golden State. But you said what LeBron had scored. He has been averaging just over 9 points in the fourth quarter this season, 2 more per game than any other player. The Bulls, on the other side, their 7-game win streak was snapped, the longest winning streak in NBA history, immediately following a losing streak of at least 10 games. So at least they got 7 in a row before they got that one knocked off.
Yeah, look, they've been playing really well. They just ran into a better team, and LeBron did LeBron things. All right, we continue.
Off the top.
How about the Raptors? They won for the 11th time in 12 games, rallying from 22 down to beat the 76ers. Boy, what has gone wrong in Philadelphia? They've lost 8 of their last 9, Mike.
Yeah, they have. And you look at Toronto right now; they're sitting at 21-8. They're second in the conference. They have 8 losses. Cleveland right there as well. It's close between them, Cleveland, and the Celtics. But as you mentioned, coming back from a 22-point deficit, pretty darn impressive for them and what they've done. How about Ben Simmons on the other side?
Yeah.
Ben Simmons played his 30th pro game on Thursday night, and he already amassed 420 points, 269 rebounds, 234 assists. There's only one other player with at least 500, 250, and 200 over his first 30 games in his NBA career, and that's Oscar Robertson. So
that's good company.
That's nice company to be in. He is, but they have been slipping for a bit. And Toronto, we always say Cleveland and Boston. And there's Toronto. We always wonder if Toronto's going to make some noise, if Washington's going to make some noise. We'll see. Right now, it's Toronto.
And by the way, DeRozan, scored a career-high 45 in that game. Steph Curry is the only other active player to score 45 points or more in a non-overtime NBA game, which his team was won by overcoming a deficit of at least that large. So DeRozan, still doing well.
Off the top.
We finish off the top with some very sad news for a lot of us of a certain age that grew up consuming sports for a variety of things, whether it's the Olympics, Wimbledon, and of course the NFL. Legendary sportscaster Dick Enberg passed away Thursday at the age of 82. Enberg's broadcast career, including play-by-play for the Olympics, the Super Bowl, NCAA Final Four, and the World Series. He was honored by the Baseball, Pro Football, and Basketball Hall of Fames, and he was part of our tennis coverage here on ESPN from 2004 to 2011.
Look at the list of things he's done. Play-by-play for 8 Super Bowls. He called multiple Final Fours, as you mentioned, including the 1979 championship game.
Michigan State,
Indiana State, Magic and Larry Bird. TV play-by-play, pregame host for the 82 World Series, play-by-play for 9 Rose Bowls, worked 4 Olympic Games, called all 4 tennis Grand Slam tourneys multiple times, and then locally spent 9 seasons calling UCLA basketball games for local TV. The team won 8 national titles.
It's a good run.
In that span.
Yeah.
And then for him, personally, 14 Emmy Awards, 9 Sportscaster of the Year Awards, Lifetime Emmy Award. And as you mentioned, the Ford C. Frick Award and the NBA the National Baseball Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame's Roselle Award, and Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame's Gowdy Award. So in part of all 3 of those Hall of Fames. And how about this for a little known fact? Did you know before he signed on with NBC in 75, before that, you know what he did?
No.
He hosted 2 game shows.
Did he really?
One game show he hosted, the first one was called Baffle.
Okay.
It lasted just a year. It was canceled in 74. A year later, producer Monty Hall hired him to host a short-lived 3 for the Money game as well. And then that didn't go, and he went on NBC.
I was about to say it worked out pretty well.
Worked out pretty well when he went to NBC.
And again, some of the things, you mentioned some of them. He also called Super Bowl 23, which was the Joe Montana to John Taylor comeback. And that's the legendary story where Harris Barton, who was an offensive lineman for the 49ers, they took the field and they were down 16-13, and for this game-winning drive. And Joe Montana, this is how he got the nickname Joe Cool. They're in the huddle, and Joe looks up and says, "Hey, look, there's John Candy in the stands."
Yeah.
And Harris Barton is like, "I am freaking out here. We're trying to win the Super Bowl," and our quarterback's like, "Oh, there's comedian John Candy in the stands."
Love that, huh?
So that was very cool. That was a memorable touchdown drive. He also called 9 Major League Baseball no-hitters, including 2 by Tim Lincecum against the Padres. But you know what? We're talking about all the games that he called and the memorable things they were. To me, as a fan, listening to Dick Enberg growing up in the 70s and then in the 80s when I got into the business, was just the ease with which he called smooth. A game. He had that very smooth, sort of comforting Midwestern style, and his signature call was "Oh my!" When something happened.
Right.
And this is probably just because of where I was and what had happened at the time. There was an '86 NFL game between the Dolphins and the Jets. And it was, Dan Marino, Ken O'Brien were the quarterbacks for the 2 teams. They were both part of the same draft class in 1983. It was a game that went to overtime, and the Jets won it 51-45 on a long touchdown pass from Ken O'Brien to Wesley Walker. And for whatever reason, that "oh my" has stuck. The way he said it after that game-winning touchdown stuck with me for the longest of times.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And, when he was calling locally the Los Angeles Rams football and California Angels baseball, every time the Angels would won, he'd wrap up with "and the halo shines tonight." Yeah. It always reminds me of course, Anchorman and Stay Classy San Diego. But
absolutely.
But the thing about the Dick Enbergs of the world and the Vince Scullys of the world, some of the greats we have talked about, is when it was so radio dependent.
Yes.
And they had to paint that picture. That was the thing. When you're watching TV, you see everything, but in radio, that person has to paint a picture for you. You can just sit there with your eyes closed and you can just go off their drawing with their words. And they paint that picture. That's the cool thing to me. And just, you're right, the smoothness of his voice was incredible.
Well, he's one of those few. There's not many of them left. now that Vince Scully has gone, and Jack Buck was one that was so associated with the Cardinals for us. Ernie Harwell with the Tigers. I'm missing a few. I know I am, but there's so many broadcasters, as you mentioned, especially on the radio side, where listening to them call your team's and he did the Padres for a lot of years. Dick Enberg did, but listening to them call your team's games night in and night out was it was a ritual. It was a bonding experience between the guy calling the games and the fans listening to it. And I think that doesn't really happen as much anymore.
Yeah.
And that's sort of a sad sort of thing, how we sort of moved on from that, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. And in the open, if you're at the beginning of the show, one of the calls he was making was my brother was on the field, the fumble.
Yeah.
In Cleveland. When
AFC
they were playing
Championship game against Denver.
The Denver. He also appeared in some movies, 2 Minute Warning, Heaven Can Wait.
Well, see, I remember him in Heaven Can Wait. That was the movie with Warren Beatty as the quarterback who got hit by a bus in a car, and he died, but he came back and he wanted to still play, so he became the winning Super Bowl quarterback for the Rams, and Dick Enberg was interviewing him after the game. Yeah,
he's in that. He's in The Naked Gun, Mr. 3000. He was in the TV show The King of Queens, CSI New York. So, I mean,
what a career.
What an incredible career, yeah. So, 82 years old, and obviously one of the best to ever do it.
Absolutely. So, Dick, the only way we can think of to send you off is looking at your career and all the things you've done. We should simply say, oh my.
Yep.
And it was an amazing run, and he will sorely, sorely be missed. Dick Enberg gone at the age of 82. All right, we are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are glad you're here with us as we're getting closer to the holidays. Again, Christmas comes on Monday. We are all fired up, but there are some significant things happening in the NFL as well. We'll get to those, including this story. The Seahawks have basically an elimination game on Sunday in Dallas.
Yes, they do.
And it's for the Cowboys as well. The winner of this game keeps their slim chances of the playoffs alive. A little more slim for the Cowboys than it would be for the Seahawks because of the way things are stacking up in their division. But something happened this week involving the Seahawks. The Seahawks were fined $100,000 for not going through the proper protocol concussion situation in that Thursday night game. I think it was November 10th. Against the Arizona Cardinals.
It was November 9th.
November 9th. Sorry, I was off by a day. In which Russell Wilson got hit in the jaw by Arizona defensive lineman as he was making a throw, and he sort of rubbed his jaw like this. And obviously when you get a hit on the jaw, a lot of times that's what causes a knockout in boxing and can cause a concussion. So the referee smartly took him and looked at him and said, you need to get off the field.
Right, send him off the field.
So they sent him off the field, and there was a delay in the game, and there was something was going on. I can't remember exactly what it was. So they opened up the blue tent on the sidelines to begin looking at Russell, and then before they even went through anything, he just ran back on.
Well, he was the only one that was in the tent as it went up. It wasn't even fully up, and he came running out of the tent.
Right, without ever fully being vetted or looked at.
Right.
So the NFL and the NFLPA had a joint investigation on that, and they fined the Seahawks $100,000 for violating the concussion protocol. But our Jeff Dickerson on ESPN Radio in Chicago says that's not enough.
You don't want to punish a player who may or may not be concussed. You don't want to suspend that player. Here's the solution. You suspend the head coach for the next game. End of story. It will, trust me, it will never happen. And if you even think about going back out there before you've been cleared and you know that your head coach might be suspended for the next game, you'll be released. Like your career, that doesn't happen. The head coach doesn't mess around. And if the head coach sees you run back out there, he'll call a timeout. Because he's not going to get suspended and lose himself a game check. No way.
Okay, couple of things there.
Right.
I think we both agree $100,000 is a pittance to an NFL team.
Yes, it is.
However,
as one tweet I saw put it, it's a parking ticket.
Correct, to these guys. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. They make hundreds of millions of dollars a year. However, the idea that the coach should be suspended for something by process that he has nothing to do with makes no sense to me.
Okay, now, you know what? We talked about this before the show, and I agreed with you initially, but I kind of get it now. And I could see why you maybe want to make that threat. You're not suspending the coach because he did anything wrong. You're holding that out there as if you screw this up as an organization, your coach is going to pay. You know what I equate it to? Is that player that does something wrong where where you're going to run, and the coach says, you stand right next to me, and you watch the entire team run.
I get that.
The entire team, you do 110s until you throw up, and the dude that did something wrong is going to stand here and watch. So you're saying, hey, you guys better get this right. Or the guy, we're not blaming the coach for the lack of protocol, but that's where you're going to pay the price. You're going to lose your head coach for a game if you screw that up. That has some more teeth to it. That has more teeth to it, I think. So from that respect, I understand you're not making the coach responsible for what went wrong, but you're holding it out there and saying, if you guys screw this up, here's how you're going to pay. You're not going to have your head coach next week.
I get what you're saying, and I understand that's the incentive, but then the incentive once again becomes on the player. And the player is supposed to be, and the coach are supposed to be completely removed from this process. Again, the way it goes, you have a spotter. The spotter says this guy comes off the field. Then you have an UNC or an INC, an unaffiliated or independent neurological consultant. It is their responsibility to then decide whether or not this player has had a concussion, evaluate them, and whether or not they can go back in the game. The coach, as it's written by the concussion protocol, is no part of this. So I don't see how you can fine or suspend a coach who has been completely divorced from this. I understand what you're saying. I get it. But to me, it would be fairer to the coach and fairer to the player and fairer to the team would be to penalize the team in some way instead of the coach. Taking away a draft pick would make more sense to me.
That would be one way to do it. You could take away a draft pick. That would definitely be hurt the team. But I get this. It's just like the thing I just said. When the player does something wrong and you make him watch everybody run, the player's not getting punished. He's the one who did something wrong, but he's not getting punished. This is kind of the other way. And I'm not putting responsibility on the player, right? Because I saw some of the tweets and I saw you answered one where when is the player responsible? The whole idea is to take the player out of it.
Correct. The player and the coach are supposed to be out of this completely.
He's going to want to play. You have to take his helmet until you're satisfied. So to me, this says you get the organization together, whether it's the GM or what, gets the medical staff together and says, gang, you guys screw this up and we lose the coach for a game, someone's head is rolling. So you guys better get your act together. So I don't mind it now as much as you do. And again, let me continue to say, there's no blame on the coaches. The coach is purely used as a carrot here to say, don't mess this up, gang, or we're going to lose our coach. Now, the NFL said it's going to revise its policy instructing officials, teammates, and coaching staff to take players directly to a member of the medical team for an assessment once the protocol has been triggered. So basically what happened here is the ref sent Russell Wilson off the field, which that triggers it. That's it. Hey, exactly I'm taking this guy. He got a shot to the head. He's rubbing his jaw. We're taking him off the field. And nothing happened. The protocol didn't go through. So I'm not as opposed to suspending the ref and using that as the coach, using that as incentive to medical staff. You guys better get this thing right.
I understand what you're saying, but to me, if a player and coach are supposed to be divorced from the process, I don't see how they can be penalized if the process goes wrong. I would rather have the team be hit, and the only way you get better in this league is by getting more players and better players. That's why, to me, a draft pick makes more sense.
I can live with that,
But I understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to see a guy who is supposed to not be a part of this at all be penalized.
Sit in the game.
Exactly. For something that he had. What did he say about Bill O'Brien? I'm just supposed to coach, with the Tom Savage thing.
Better be paid.
The way, that investigation is still going on, and we'll find out what happens there.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Getting closer and closer to Christmas. We're getting excited. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And for those not watching on ESPN2, you have made me look ridiculous.
I have.
I do that myself every day.
Well, you do. You do that by speech. This now is by look. I've been wearing a holiday sweater or shirt every day. I have Santor on now, a buffed Santa looking like a centaur, but a Santor.
Gotcha.
And I like the buffness of Santa in this. And I gave you a sweater, and I should say that my wife bought these sweaters, got one that has ornaments on it, candy canes on it, and blinking lights. There are actually 3 batteries. I had to hunt down some batteries here yesterday. There's a bunch of wiring underneath that thing and a battery case, and you're blinking.
Yeah, I don't think I can make it through TSA security right now.
No, I don't think you could either. But that's okay. On. As long as you can make it through the show, I don't care what you do after that.
Thanks. And as you said, you're going to throw some water on me at the end of the show to find out just how much voltage is running through me right now. But again, we are fired up for Christmas. This is our last show of the year, by the way, and also before Christmas. So we want to know, we've been doing this all week long at Golic and Wingo on Twitter, or at ESPN Golic, or at Wingos with a Z, which is my Twitter handle. What are your Christmas Day traditions?
Yeah,
let us know. Let us know what you guys do at your house for Christmas. And the other one we put out there is, sometimes some people open some Christmas presents Christmas Eve.
Right.
Some do it all on Christmas morning. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll put that up as a poll question as well. Are you all Christmas morning or some Christmas Eve and some Christmas morning. Hit us up on Twitter, and we will get to those a little bit later in the show.
Yeah, I like the one. What's that Christmas Day tradition? What do you do? Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, but really more that Christmas tradition for your family.
Yell at each other for not getting the right presents.
Yeah, how about
I told you I wanted this.
I want that.
Don't you love all those commercials, by the way, where there's a car in the driveway?
Oh, yeah.
You ever had a car in the driveway for Christmas?
Never was there a bow on a car.
Mythical.
In the driveway.
Mythical.
Does that even exist?
Doesn't happen.
No.
Doesn't happen. Actually, I think I did it once. No, that was for a birthday.
But you did do it.
I did do it.
Oh, okay. So you did give a car as a present.
Yeah, but that was for a birthday, not for Christmas.
Oh, so that doesn't matter?
Well, it's slightly different holiday. Well, it's cold outside. You don't want to do it when it's warmer. Do it when it's warmer. By the way, you hear the guest coming up we've got later on, 7 o'clock Eastern. Field Minister Yates. That's Field's middle name.
Yes,
Minister.
it is. I do know that. And it has nothing to do with religion.
Nothing.
No.
It just has to do with he's a preppy Northeasterner.
There you have it.
It's one of the best. He's from the Cape, you know.
Yes, he is.
Nantucket, as they say. Field will join us. At 7:30, Calais Campbell of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Guys should have a real chance for Defensive Player of the Year. Was what he's doing in Jacksonville.
And we can go through his decision-making process in free agency, which was fascinating.
Yes, it was.
He made the right call. Adrian Wojnarowski will join us in studio at 8:10 Eastern to talk about all things NBA, including some of the things he's been reporting this week, including what's going to happen potentially with Anthony Davis of the Pelicans. The big man, Damian Woody, will be here as well. And then Joe Thomas of the Cleveland Browns will join us. Excited to talk to him.
It's a shame, we've gotten to know Joe more through social media. And why I say it's a shame, it's because he's hurt and not playing.
Right.
A guy that's been the Iron Man in the NFL, and the first time in 10,000 some odd snaps. He wasn't playing this year, so his personality has come out even more in the Twitter world. And my daughter Sydney worked with the Browns last year and got to know him and his wife. He does a lot in the area, talked about what a great family they are and stuff. And we've had him on the show a few times before we started Golic and Wingo. And he's a great.
Did you have a show before Golic? I can't remember.
Yes, I did.
18 years, it was awesome.
Yeah. But Joe is fantastic. So I really look forward to talking to him.
Okay, so that's all coming up. But we talked about this before the big Steelers-Patriots game last week, how Mike Tomlin, the Steelers head coach, really started focusing on the Steelers, I think the Patriots game, 3 weeks before it started.
Yeah, which was shocking.
We thought
for
that was
him.
a little interesting, right?
Yeah, it's always about the next game, let the media and everybody else talk about down the road. But he was talking about down the road.
He was. And by the way, that same thing now has happened in the NBA. Yesterday on the Ryan Russillo show, by the way, today is the final day for Ryan's show. We wish him all the best. He's an awesome dude. He was great with us a couple of days ago here with us on our show, and he's going to do great at whatever he is going forward. We will certainly miss him here. But he had Rockets GM Daryl Morey, on the show, and this is what he had to say about what the Rockets' goal is this season.
I mean, it's the only thing we think about. I think I'm not supposed to say that, but I mean, we're basically obsessed with how do we beat the Warriors, and we know that it's like we calculated. It's like 90% if we're going to win a title, we've got to obviously beat the Warriors at some point, and so we're extremely focused on that. And a lot of our signings and what we do during the year is based on that. What is the point of this league except winning a title? So I mean, we'd love to get the 1 seed. We'd love to win more games than any in Rockets history, which is 58. Those are all nice things, but, frankly, we spend most of our time just figuring out how we might be able to knock the Warriors off in 7 games, and because we're pretty sure that's going to be what defines our season.
I mean,
that's honest.
I have zero issue with that, and I'll tell you why. Because in the NFL, it's difficult to look ahead because one game can cost you being in the playoffs, correct? That can knock you. Now, Pittsburgh's in a spot where they're going to be in, but you look ahead from players and coaching staff, and that can definitely hurt you. In basketball, I mean, with 82 games and a lot of teams that make the playoffs, and Houston, I mean, we know they're definitely going to be there. They're in good shape. Isn't that what every team is doing? This isn't the head coach talking. There's a difference of a coach and a GM or somebody talking about this, of how you build a team. Because as a GM in football would talk, when you build a team to beat the teams in your conference.
Correct.
I remember, you look at the Green Bays and Minnesotas and Detroits of the world. There were times when you would see drafting of bigger wide receivers, so the other teams would draft bigger defensive backs. You kind of draft for your division at times, or what's going on in your division, or football, obviously overall. But you draft for that, where in basketball, this is where we are now. Everybody's trying to beat Golden State, right? So what are you saying? You put a team together to beat Golden State. Why are we doing this if we can't try and beat Golden State? Now, there are a lot of teams that can't and won't spend the money to do it. Houston is one of those teams that will spend the money to do it. So that sounds way more plausible. Like, listen, we want to build a championship. If we want to build a championship, the dominant team right now is Golden State. We have to build a team that can beat Golden State.
Right. And the interesting thing, too, is obviously getting Chris Paul has made a huge difference.
Right.
But we always think about Mike D'Antoni's teams as not playing defense. Well, their defensive efficiency this season is 7th. Last season, they were 18th. The year before that, 2015-2016 season, they were 21st. So they have addressed what they thought was a glaring weakness for them. Well, quite frankly, what everyone knew was a glaring weakness for them. There was no defense.
They were going to hoist a three whenever they could, and they didn't play defense.
And we had this stat a couple of days ago when Ryan was on, that they could shoot their next 770-plus shots, all be two-pointers, and they would still lead the league in most three-point attempts, which is just amazing with how much they're shooting it, which is the way we always think of the Warriors winning and the way they've done it. So not only is Daryl Morey being honest about it, but they're sort of copying what the Warriors have done in their success. Right now, I get it, it's early. It's not even really the air quote of unofficial start of the NBA season Christmas Day, but with the Rockets at 25-5, a game up on Golden State, they are basically borrowing from the Golden State playbook and finding ways to beat Golden State.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it had to change. Last year it was just try and outscore everybody, which obviously they're still trying to do. James Harden is on pace to have the second most made three-pointers in NBA history. He's on pace for 347, which would be second to Steph Curry, who in the 2015 season had 402. But you have to stop people somewhat as well, at least to a point as well. Nobody says you have to be the absolute best defense, but you have to have a representative defense.
Get some stops.
And now they do to go along with their scoring. So that's a team that's definitely opened up some eyes.
And I want to be clear because we sort of got on Tomlin a little bit about, hey, you got to focus on what's ahead of you. Listen, there are two sports where you can't do anything but focus on the next opponent because otherwise you will be punished physically. It's football and the NHL. Yep. You can coast at times in the NBA or a 3-game set in Seattle, maybe in the major league season when you're playing 162 games.
Right. You got the players at rest, and we go through this whole thing in the NBA where players are resting and they change the schedule to try and stop that. You don't really see that in the others.
That's why it's different in other sports except for the NFL and the NHL, because if you try and coast in one of those games, you will get destroyed.
Yeah, you will.
You cannot do that.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS-consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Calais, thanks for being with us. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I got to talk about Peyton Manning in 2013, by the way.
What happened there?
I caught an interception on the screen, and it was about 30, 40-yard run, and he tackled me on the 3-yard line. I mean, he fell down, barely clipped my knee. I was tired, though. I will say that the exhaustion played a role in that.
I was going to say 30, 40 yards. I mean, that's going to need the oxygen tank after for me, so I get it. But Peyton Manning, man, that's a tough one to live with, though, my friend.
I mean, I in all my years, I never thought I'd hear someone say Peyton Manning ran me down from behind to make the tackle.
He took a good angle. I mean,
there you go. It was all about the angle, Calais, and you would know all about the angle. By the way, speaking of the angle, let me just say, as someone who witnessed what you went through in the offseason trying to decide where you were going to play this year and what contract you were going to decide, congratulations, because the choices were Denver and Jacksonville. And for people that don't know, Calais is raised in Denver. He's from the Denver area with 7 siblings there. And it was chronicled, and there was a real – I mean, you really struggled with the choice for a lot of reasons, but you ended up with Jacksonville. Clearly that's working out. What in the end made you think Jacksonville was going to be the better choice?
I mean, it was just a gut feeling, but I studied a lot of tape. I did a lot of research, I asked guys that play, both state these questions. I really spent a lot of time in the little short window we had to try to get as much information as possible. At the end of the day, I felt like Jacksonville was to be a better team.
Calais, for your side of this, and certainly we'll talk about the team in a second, but this is your 10th year, you're 31 years old. It's your second team you've been on, and this is the first time with 2 more games to go that you're in double-digit sacks, sitting at 14.5. You didn't have double digits before that. Now at 31, here you are, the front runner for the Defensive Player of the Year. What has led you to this, being in the league this long and now producing this way?
I mean, I'm sure it's a combination of a few things. One thing is that we have incredible secondary, incredible linebackers that really study a lot of tape and take away quarterback first reads, which gives me the extra split second. And then we have just so much talent on the D-line where we take turns making plays. And also, I think a little bit of a position change, a lot more opportunities on first and second down because I play true DM on first and second down. I don't go inside until third down. So, just opportunity, taking advantage of opportunities. And I missed a few too, which is, football. But, I'm having a lot of fun out there, enjoying myself, with a good team.
You certainly are, and it's being reflected in your play. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Calais Campbell of the Saxonville Jaguars, who, by the way, twice this year have had 10 sacks in a game, which is ridiculous, joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. A lot of people were a little skeptical when you did make the decision to go to Jacksonville. There's no state income tax in Florida, all that kind of stuff. But you were right on the money. You saw the potential from this team. And, you're sort of the sage veteran on this squad that has so many young players out there, whether it's Fowler or Miles Jack or the 2 cornerbacks in Bouye and Ramsey, obviously Jalen Ramsey. What do you see from this bunch? Sometimes when guys get together like this, Calais, they're not young enough or they're not old enough yet to know they shouldn't be doing this, yet they are. Is that sort of helping this squad?
I think, youth definitely, it brings a lot of energy. Late in the season, guys are tired, bodies are hurting, but the guys are still flying around because they're young and energetic. But definitely brings a role to our success.
Talking to Calais Campbell, the Jacksonville Jaguars on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. They head out to San Francisco to play this Sunday. So the expectations of the team, Jacksonville has certainly been closer to the bottom for years and years. But with you and a bunch of other new guys going into this season, knowing the history of Jacksonville, what did you guys discuss and talk about as expectations?
From day one, the goal was to win a division. The message I tried to bring was that we have everything, we need right now. We don't need anything else. Every piece we need is right here in front of us. We just have to put the work in. Coach Marone, wasted no time, and we worked very hard since OTA day number 1. We pushed ourselves, as far as we could push ourselves. And our training camp was probably the hardest training camp I've ever been a part of, including college. Or at least as hard as it was in college. Our coach really asked a lot of us, but in the end, he said if we buy in and we sell out, that we'll be successful. And guys bought in, and here we are.
Well, here you are, exactly right, as you head to San Francisco this weekend to take on Jimmy Garoppolo, who's been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. He's now 5-0 as a starter, but I'm not sure anybody is hotter than the quarterback in Jacksonville right now, and that's Blake Bortles, who before you got there and earlier this season, has had some stumbles and had some criticisms. But over his last 3 games, Calais, he's done something he's never done before in his career. 3 straight games, multiple touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. What difference have you seen in Blake in the month of December than, say, from September when you first got there?
I think he's been the same guy, the whole year. He's just been locked in and dedicated, and hard work pays off. Sometimes it takes a little time. But he's been locked in, working hard, studying tape. He's one of the last guys to leave the locker room. I'm always one of the last guys too. So, I always see him, late in the offices, studying extra tape, and just working hard. And when I see that guy, just the way he practices, the way he carries himself, it's just a matter of time. he's given some credibility. So, I'm happy to see us finally coming to fruition.
The one thing with football, with their 16 games, it is truly one game at a time. But knowing this game gives you the division, something you said in the beginning of the season you talked about, is that discussed in your locker room that this is the magical game now that gets us where, at least to the beginning of where we want to go?
Yeah, from the players' perspective, it's one of the first things I said to guys, man, it's a hat and T-shirt game. This is everything we work for in front of us right here for the opportunity. When you win the division, you guarantee yourself a chance to have a home playoff game, to get on the roll in the playoffs, and to win the division is a big deal. And so I've been, and everybody's there. This is everything we work for right here in front of us. Let's go ahead and take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've heard Teddy talk about that on NFL Live millions of times. Hat and a T-shirt game. You only get 3 of those a year. When you win your division, win your conference, and win the Super Bowl.
That is cool.
You do get to celebrate those. And, if you win and when you celebrate, your head coach, Doug Marrone, made a few headlines the other day when he says he's happiest after a win when he eats a bologna sandwich. Not even a fried bologna sandwich, just a bologna sandwich. So, are you a big bologna sandwich guy with Doug? Do you share those sandwiches together, or is that something Doug does on his own?
No, he's on his own that one. I do not like bologna.
So what's your celebratory meal after a win?
And I'm more of a chicken wings kind of guy,
you're speaking to Golic right now.
Yeah, you can veg out all the way. You can do whatever you want. After a game, you're exhausted. There's no restrictions. It's a complete cheat day, so you eat whatever and everything.
Amen to that. Yeah, I had more than a few wings, no doubt about it. Hey, a couple off the topic of the NFL. You've been in the league, as I said, 10 years. You went to the U, Miami, which I had a tough weekend when what you guys did to my boys at Notre Dame that weekend. It was a very nice win for the U in that one. But we're seeing it now where players, and one of your guys on your team, Leonard Fournette was one, and McCaffrey was last year, where they skipped that last bowl game. We already are seeing guys skip bowl games this year again as well. You've been in the league, you haven't been in college for a while, and I'm sure you played in those bowl games because this wasn't going on then. What do you think of players that choose to skip that last bowl game to get ready for the NFL?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I haven't put a lot of thought into that before, but I'll say, the game is a beautiful game, when you play it in its purest form, and you're supposed to enjoy yourself in a bowl game, especially in college, was a big reward. You work really hard to get to a great bowl game, but I guess if you're, a guy who has a high draft stock and you're not playing in the predominant bowl, you're playing in something a little less than, I think some of those guys make business decisions, and you really, I've seen guys get hurt, in bowl games and the draft stock falls a lot, so, you can't really fault them for, thinking about the business side of things. But at the end of the day, me personally, I love playing the game. And every time I get an opportunity to play the game, I'm going to play it the best of my ability.
Calais Campbell from the Jacksonville Jaguars joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, front runner in everybody's eyes for Defensive Player of the Year.
Absolutely.
And what makes this question difficult is now you guys play around Christmas Day. You guys are playing again this Sunday in San Francisco. Do you, your family, you or your family, or growing up or now, have any Christmas Day traditions that you like to keep to?
Oh, man. For us, we were just all about being with each other, celebrating. We used to have, dance parties. I guess that's kind of a tradition.
Nice. Dance parties.
Dance contests. I wasn't the best dancer in the family. I never won, but those were a lot of fun. Always, I don't think we were together for Thanksgiving, and everybody came down this last week to celebrate Christmas early with me because I won't be able to celebrate this year with them, but we didn't have a dance party, so I guess we don't keep those traditions alive, but they were a lot of fun.
Listen, cool. Having seen Calais in person, I would love to see him get out there on a dance move. That would be my Christmas tradition.
I got a couple things.
That would be my Christmas tradition, seeing that. Calais, we appreciate you being with us. Fantastic season, not only for you, for the Jaguars, potentially in the playoffs for the first time in 10 years. It's great. And maybe a hat and T-shirt game Sunday in San Francisco. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks,
Merry
Calais.
Christmas, okay?
True pleasure. Thank you, guys.
See you.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
Joe, thanks for being with us. Lots to get to with you, but first and foremost, is this the weekend? Is it going to happen for the Browns? Because the Bears are 0-7 when they've been favored with John Fox as their head coach.
I like our chances. I'm feeling very confident going into this weekend. I think this is a great opportunity for us. We've practice well this week, and why not on Christmas Eve doing it again like we did last year?
But I would have to say, Joe, knowing you and how upbeat you are, don't you say that every week? I mean, in all honesty, that is the player credo every week, isn't it? I mean, that you plan on winning every single week, correct?
Yes. Yes, you have to. As a pro football player, as a competitor, you have to go into every week and you have to convince yourself you're going to win by the time you get to Sunday.
And that has to be difficult. I mean, look, I would not wish 0-16 on my worst enemy, and I mean that sincerely. When my son was playing middle league football, they went 0-8 once, and it almost destroyed him. So I can't imagine, what goes through these guys' minds, and how would you sort of relate to people that don't understand the struggle and what, not only from a physical standpoint, Joe, but from a mental standpoint, to know that, you started 0-14 last year, you turned it around, you started 0-14 again this year, to keep telling yourself, hey, we can do this. We can get ourselves in a place mentally where we feel like we can win.
Well, I think first and foremost, it's your job. It's what you get paid to do, so you just have to get into that right mindset. But it is extremely tough when you don't get that payoff on Sunday and you don't get that victory, because you work all week, you convince yourself you're going to win, you convince yourself you got a chance to win, and you feel like you're prepared, and you go out and you lose on Sunday, and it keeps happening. It's really tough to continue to put in that work, to continue to buy in throughout the week. But that's one thing I can give Hugh Jackson and the guys a lot of credit for, is they've done a great job throughout this, even though we have had so much losing. They've really done a great job preparing each week like it's its own week, forgetting about the record. Don't worry about it. Let's just focus on our opponent on Sunday and put our best foot forward and do whatever we can to give ourselves the best chance to win.
Joe Thomas with us here on Golic and Wingo. Again, starting left tackle for many, many years for the Cleveland Browns, out with a torn tricep injury, which ended his streak of 10,000-plus straight snaps played, which is ridiculous. But as you're listening to him be so positive, I just want people to understand, in his career, Joe Thomas has played in 167 games. The Browns had a losing record entering 124 of them.
Yeah.
So when you hear this relentless positivity, just understand the circumstances in which it's being issued for.
Definitely keeps you going. Obviously, 10-time Pro Bowler, 7-time first-team All-Pro. Actually, when he was in college, qualified in 04 and 05 for the shot put and discus throw, and first ballot Hall of Famer whenever he decides to stop playing the game of football. And on that note, let's talk about you for a minute. I know you love to talk about team. That's the kind of guy you are. How has this been for you? This is the first time you haven't been playing while the season's going on. Mm-hmm. How has it been for you, not only physically, because, you see injuries and you know how to repair them and you know how to rehab them. How about mentally for you? How has this been?
Well, it's been up and down. There's, times where I really enjoy it. I enjoy taking a step back, spending more time with my family. I enjoy being able to spend a little bit more time coaching some of the guys in the team, specifically the tackles, the defensive ends, giving them some of my knowledge. I've really enjoyed that side of things. But then, of course, when you're standing on the sidelines on Sunday and you have that feeling like you could be out there helping your team, or, you see the guys, how much fun they're having when they come off the field. Those are the tough moments when you really feel like you wish you could be out there, and there's that feeling that, you're really missing the game and missing being out there with the other guys. So there is ups and downs. It's sort of a roller coaster, but I've been trying to make the most of it.
Well, you certainly have, and we've enjoyed sort of following you on social media, seeing you much more active with obviously a little more time on your hands. And, for some unfortunate circumstances all the way around, the Carolina Panthers will be up for sale. And you've laid forth a very detailed plan here on what you would do if you could become the owner of the Carolina Panthers, along with P. Diddy. Among the highlights, Diddy would be in charge of halftime shows, shareholders in charge of the team, brats instead of hot dogs, not signing a punter because your team would go for it on every fourth down. Have you been really working on this master plan on what you would do if you owned a team for a long time?
Yeah, myself, my partners, and my attorneys have really been working hard behind the scenes to come up with a foolproof plan. You call it detail, I call it foolproof, to make sure that this is a reality for the people of Carolina and really all NFL football fans. I think we can create a cutting-edge game day environment. One of the most important things you left out was the monkeys shooting money cannons during the game.
I apologize. That's on me. I want to own that. Yeah. That's on me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Wingo. The whole T-shirt shooting out of cannons thing is so passé. I think we really need to move into the new age and shoot money out of cannons with monkeys. So, there's a lot of exciting things for fans, and I think it's easy to get behind my plan. You can see it on my Twitter at JoeThomas73.
Now, obviously, there's a little sarcasm and humor there, just a little. But I'm all in for the monkey shooting the T-shirt cans. Yeah. I want to be clear. But is there a part of you, Joe, that in the future wants to be a part of an ownership? I know that Peyton Manning has talked about that in the past.
Well, certainly being an NFL owner has been very profitable and exciting for a lot of people for the last, 30 or 40 years. So if I ever had the opportunity to seriously get involved in an ownership group, I definitely would consider it.
With football players, a lot of it is when they're done, depending on what they go to next. And I would imagine you would have a ton of options whenever you're done. Hopefully that's long down the road. There are some that love to still be in sports or love to be done with the sport altogether and move on to something else. Which do you think you would be whenever you decide to be done? Something that's still involved in the sport, I don't know if it's coaching, ownership, GMing, whatever, or completely out of a sport?
Well, that's a good question. I still have a big passion for football. Whenever I decide to hang up the cleats, I've been doing this since I was 12 years old. And so really my entire life has been training to be something in football, whether it was a player for a lot of years or, maybe a front office or coach or who knows. But, you have this unique training and this unique skill set that very few people in the world have. And it'd be kind of a shame to just totally put that aside and not do anything in the sports world. So I'm not sure exactly what I would do when I do decide to retire, but certainly I'm trying to keep all my options open and not rush into anything.
Well, listen, as football fans, and especially, Mike's son played college on offensive line. My son played college offensive line. We want you to continue to go out there and do your thing on the field as long as possible. And, we were sort of joking about it off the top that you say that every week that, hey, we believe we have a chance to win. But as we said, the Browns the Bears are 0-7 when John Fox as their head coach as their favored. Hugh Jackson has won twice on Christmas Eve as a head coach. So trends are certainly in your favor. And when you guys finally won, Joe, last year, I remember your post-game comments. You think, I think I'm celebrating this a little too much as it's only our first win. What would it mean for this team, this city, which has been so downtrodden really since even before you got there in the 2007 draft with what's happened since they've come back into the league, for them not to join the Detroit Lions as the only 0-16 teams in NFL history?
Well, I think for the guys in the team right now, we're trying not to think about 0-16 because I think that can be a little bit overwhelming. But just to be able to get a win and to be able to get a payoff for the work that's been done this season, I think would mean a lot. You saw the emotion that I had last year with Hugh when we beat the San Diego Chargers at the time on Christmas Eve. And it's hard for people to understand when you win a meaningless game like something like this towards the end of the season, what it feels like. But winning is so hard in the NFL that when you don't get it for so long, you don't get to taste that, and you finally do get to taste that. It's sort of an overwhelming emotional experience, and it's really hard to explain unless you've been through it.
Well, listen, you beat the Chargers so bad that they were so humiliated they had to leave San Diego. I mean, that's what they were like. We can't go back to San Diego now. That's what that meant.
All right, a couple more football. Then I want to get into some Christmas stuff. Josh Gordon is back on the team again. He's got himself a few chances, and you really hope from a life standpoint he turns things around. But there's no denying the talent on the field. How has that been? Not so much on the field, but in the locker room and just Josh Gordon back in the football life.
Well, it's been great. I think with Josh, his issue has never been in the locker room or on the field. He's always been a great teammate. He's always been a phenomenal football player. His issue was when he went home. And so hopefully if he's able to get that in check and to take care of himself the way he needs to, really the sky's the limit for him because, like I mentioned, people have always loved being around Josh Gordon in the locker room. They've always loved playing with him on Sundays. And really, the sky is the limit for him. I mean, there's been very few players as talented as him in the history of the league. And so if he can keep himself on the straight and narrow, the NFL has a star in their hands.
And a general question about a serious topic in the NFL. And when you started in the game, it was still treated differently. forgetting even back to when I was in it, where you were in it, it was different, to now in concussions on the field. And we just saw Seattle got fined $100,000 for the concussion protocol. We're still waiting to see what happens with the Texans and the Tom Savage situation. From your standpoint, how do you think the NFL is dealing with that now with the independent spotters, and you pull a guy out of the game, and how they're treating concussions and when you can go back, just how that's evolved through your career?
Well, I think they've done a better job than they have, and they're trying, but there's still some things I don't understand, like what happened with Tom Savage. I don't understand, if you have an independent neurologist who's watching the game, how that the player does not get removed from the game. I mean, that's just impossible to understand, except for if you just say that he wasn't watching. And really, that should be a bad excuse, and somebody should really be fired for that, because that's unacceptable. But I think that KJ Wright came out with a good comment the other day where he said, if you're diagnosed with a concussion, you should have to miss at least one game. And I think a lot of teams are moving that direction, but I think there's some teams with their concussion protocol, it still is not really fully in the best interest of the players. And you are seeing guys sometimes come back, 5-6 days after they've had a serious concussion.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because we were having this discussion, Joe, before you came on the air. You pay 53 players, yet only 46 are active for a game. And if we're going to be, taking a guy out for a concussion, which I think might be the right thing to do for the next week, why are we having inactives? Why has it ever been explained to you why they're inactives? It seems to me if you're cutting 53 game checks, everyone should be available.
Well, that's one thing I've never really understood, and I try to understand the rules of the game pretty well, and it doesn't make sense why you even have any inactives. I don't know. Nobody's been able to tell me why.
We are going to try and get to the bottom of that, because we all have just kind of accepted it. And Trey brought that up. It was the first, cognizant thought that he's had
in a month.
Quite honestly,
I'm
since we started the show. All right, let's get to the real questions to Christmas. Whether it was when you were a kid growing up or now, were you a Christmas Eve present opener or a Christmas Day present opener?
So we always got spoiled, because with Christmas Eve, we would open presents with my grandparents. They would come over for Christmas Eve dinner. And then Christmas morning, we'd get Santa's gifts and then anything from my parents. So we actually got like a half and half, which was pretty cool for kids. There was like 24 hours of pandemonium.
Gotta like that a lot. How about, again, whether kid or now, real tree, fake tree?
I've always been a real tree guy.
So we both used to be real tree guys.
We used to be, but
then we were told fake tree.
Yeah, I dried out too many trees, made them fire hazards for the kids, and I was told no more real trees. How about Christmas Day traditions? Did you have any of those growing up or now?
Growing up, it was just, the kids would wake up as early as they wanted, but they weren't allowed to wake the adults till 7 a.m. And then we would just open toys and just hang out as a family at the house. So nothing crazy, but it was fun. We always just kept Christmas Day, Christmas morning pretty small.
So the kids, you could get up early, but you couldn't open any presents until 7 o'clock when the parents got woken up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
The kids would wake up at 4:30, and we'd have every single present organized by pile. All right, this is for mom, this is for dad, this is for baby brother, this is for baby sister. Shake them, touch them, do anything you want, but you can't start opening until 7 a.m.
I love that.
I remember that. We had that rule as well. Hey, Joe, we really appreciate you being with us. I hope someday you are an owner, because I think you'd be an awesome owner in the NFL. But more importantly, I can't wait to seeing you back on the field, and as Jeff Saturday says, sitting them down every once in a while. So we appreciate you being with us, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
We're going into the dark side.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're walking into the dark side. If you're watching us on ESPN2, you notice that we have a third person in the room.
An elf. Yeah, we have an elf.
We have the bad Santa elf. He's looking like a bad Santa elf today. Bubba is with us.
We're back.
You ready?
What's up? Yeah, give me that open, please.
Give me that open. He's calling his shots now. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
It's time for another edition of Love It
Booyah!
or shove it.
I think you go well.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right.
Good open.
It is a good open.
I like the elf outfit. You look good.
Yeah.
He's a mean elf.
Thank you. Yeah.
He's an angry elf.
Yeah, he's an angry elf. That's it. Yeah.
Looking good. Yeah.
I think
you guys look all right, I guess.
Yeah, thanks.
This is all him.
Yeah.
My sweater.
Blinking
For those of you
lights
that not watching on ESPN2, I am wearing a green Christmas sweater that has ornaments and candy canes and lots of lights that blink.
Blinking lights, and I have a Centaur sweater
I
on.
just like saying that word, by the way, Centaur.
That's Centaur, the half man, half animals, half Santa, half horse, and a buffed Santa at that.
He is
kind of like me.
Yeah. Okay, then.
Yeah, like looking in the mirror.
Absolutely sure. All right, so we ready to start a Christmas edition of Love It or Shove It?
I'm ready. Yep, got some Christmas questions for you.
Okay.
If you could only celebrate one, you'd rather celebrate Christmas than your birthday. Love it or shove it?
Oh, without question. I love that. I would much rather celebrate Christmas than my birthday. Listen, birthday's 21, very cool. It's obviously a big, big one. What's the next big one after that? 50? I did that a few years ago, and quite honestly, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
Okay? So is it 60 the next one? I don't know. But
it's when can you retire? What's the age?
Yeah. 21 to me, and I'm good. Christmas, give it to me every year. I absolutely, positively love that one.
I will have to agree with you here because at a certain point, birthdays become depressing.
They do.
It's like, really? I don't feel that old. I don't think I'm that old, but I am that old.
Yes.
So I'm all in on Love It. I would go Christmas all the way there.
Trying to hit something?
I don't know. They told me to look at something on the board.
All right.
Something blue.
55! Yeah, that was it. That wasn't worth it at all.
It wasn't
good
worth
effort, though.
It was
Actually,
terrible.
it wasn't really an
that was
effort.
terrible.
It was a horrible effort.
Thanks for ruining
horrible.
Love It or Shove It.
Wow, horrible
Just
effort.
awful.
Horrible.
Right. Cole.
That may have
Shove
ruined the entire segment.
Yeah, I might just go.
Stanzik's call on that. Love It or Shove It. Shove it.
I apologize to you for what Stanzik just did. Let's try and regroup. Go ahead.
See. NBA Christmas is better than NFL Thanksgiving. Love it or shove it?
I'm going to have to shove it. I love the NBA and watching it, but I'm a football guy, so I'm still going to sit around. I like watching football. I like eating my Thanksgiving dinner, going laying on the couch, unbuckling the top button so my stomach can grow, putting some dessert on my chest, eat it while I'm laying down and watch football. I'm still that guy. So I'm going to shove that one and still say football.
Well, let me be clear. I think the NBA Christmas games on ESPN and ABC are awesome.
I know you do.
I think they're fantastic.
I know you do.
I hope tons of people watch it.
I know you do.
I'm shoving this so hard.
Yeah.
Well, I am all about Thanksgiving Day football. Sit there, relax, watch all three games, and get you geared up for the postseason push. Because the difference is, Thanksgiving Day football is all about we're into the meat of the schedule.
Right.
We got December games and then the playoffs. NBA Christmas is like, oh, the season's starting. That's the difference for me. So they're great games and they're entertaining. I'm all in on Thanksgiving Day football.
All right.
You open at least one present on Christmas Eve. Love it or shove it?
I do love that. We did that when I was a kid. Open one on Christmas Eve. So I like that. It's a little, you whet the appetite a little bit. And I think, quite honestly, it helps kids go to bed. They got to open one thing, because if you don't, you have all this anticipation. Now I can't go to sleep. So open one thing, enjoy it, then calm a little bit because you got to open it, go to bed, and then wake up Christmas morning. So I am all for opening at least one present on Christmas Eve. I love it.
I'm going to say I love it, too. In fact, my parents, when we were growing up, took it one step further. We had something called Christmas Eve gift, and the first person to yell Christmas Eve gift on Christmas Eve got an extra Christmas present.
Oh.
So, and it got to the point where we were all living in different places. Literally, we would call each other up at midnight, and sometimes people would forget why we're calling, and we'd just yell, Christmas Eve gift! As soon as you could say it on the phone, that means you got the bonus gift. So not only do you open one gift on Christmas Eve, if you were at 12:00 a.m. on December 24th, the first one to yell Christmas Eve gift, you got an extra gift.
Bonus gift is always good.
Bonus gift is always good, so I'm all love it on that one.
Wow. Right. Sounds like a real wild time at the Wingo house.
That's about as crazy as
Who
it
can
gets.
call close to midnight, huh? Woo, booze it up.
Happy
Office
times.
Secret Santas. Love it or shove it?
I probably shove this one. I don't need any extra, okay? Christmas is enough.
Wait a minute, you just said bonus gift, you're in favor of it, and now you say you don't need. These 2 points seem to be incongruous.
No. For the family, when you got to start doing the office and this and buying extra gifts for this and for that, it starts to get cumbersome. Now,
so you don't like the stats.
So now I feel like you're just buying to buy. You know what? I'd rather bring in some
Do you not
food.
know what Christmas is?
Yeah.
I mean, do you not know that like 20% of the real retail year is all about buying
I know,
stuff?
but I don't like to buying.
I feel like we're missing a concept here.
I got to get something here. It's not, to me, it loses the spirit of it a little bit. I'd rather bring in some nice grub for everybody and let them enjoy that than everybody have to try and figure out a gift. So I shove the office Secret Santa. How about you?
I don't know where to go with this. It just seems
well,
like,
you either love it or you shove it.
I'm trying to figure out how you
Doesn't
got
get
to
the
where
game.
you were logically on this point.
I told you, logically, it's extra. It's too much. It's
Which,
too
by
much
the way,
thinking.
was his argument against me when I say putting up all those decorations was too much, and it was too much effort. So you seem to be undermining your own points here.
I don't agree with that.
So I will go love it just because you said shove it.
Oh, so that's what you're doing.
Pretty
now.
much. Well, they told me radio is conflict, so we got to be a little conflict here.
Okay, there you go.
I think we stunned Bubba into silence on that one.
I just love my my fonting here. I don't know if you guys notice on TV, but Bubba Peregrine, talent.
Yeah.
So it should say elf.
Just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It should say angry elf.
Yeah, just keep that in mind. Talent.
Say the word no.
I shoved that talent reference, by the way.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Christmas is better when it snows. Love it or shove it.
Wow. Better when it snows. Listen, I basically have almost lived my entire life from growing up in Cleveland to playing most of my career in Philadelphia to now living in Connecticut in cold weather in a place where it snows, and you deal with it. But given my druthers, I would have no problem it being somewhere where it's 75 and sunny on Christmas. It's still Christmas to me. I have no problem with that at all. So Christmas is better when it snows. I'll shove it and say I can take Christmas with snow. I can take it with sunshine. To me, it's not better because it's snowing.
Well, look, I will take Christmas any way it comes,
Yes.
even if it's 48 degrees and pouring rain. But to me, a little Christmas Eve snow, a little magic. You wake up in the morning, there's white stuff. Now, it can melt in 7 seconds, and I'm fine with that.
Just so
I
you
want to
see
be
it,
clear, but just so it's there. And we had a blizzard here, I think, in 2003 here in Connecticut, and there was like a foot of snow on Christmas. That was awesome. And we had a bunch of my extended family members over for that, nephews, nieces, my parents, my sister, they were all here. So yeah, I'll say Christmas is better when it snows, especially since I'm a skier. Our whole family likes to ski.
Right.
And by the way, they're getting like 10 plus inches in Vermont right now, which
there
is
you
amazing. So I will absolutely say I will love it. Christmas is better when it snows.
So is that all you have?
That's it.
All right.
Whoa. You got something else?
I have
right?
a question.
Oh, jeez.
I have a love it or shove it question.
All right.
Okay. And this is for you, Bubba, to answer.
I understand how it works.
Okay.
Good, because he didn't seem to apparently a couple of times.
This segment with Cliff reading the love it or shove it questions is better. Love it or shove it.
I'm going to have to shove that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's an inexperienced board op. I
Right.
can't imagine.
Wow.
I can't imagine how good he would be on the air.
He's been the star of the show for 4 weeks.
Air.
He's been the star of the show for 4
Yeah,
weeks.
well, that
with his
says a lot
music.
about the show.
That's
Good,
also
good
true.
job, guys.
That's
Cliff,
also
what do you
true.
have to say to that? Do you think you could do this love it or
Can you
What?
say it?
This bad segment that I'm doing
Well,
now?
first, can you learn how to speak?
No.
Second, it wouldn't be big shoes to fill, so I'm positive I could take over that segment.
Team Cliff.
Wow.
Positive.
Team
Wow.
Cliff.
Unbelievable.
Former board op, now board op. I mean, what is this? Is this the clashing? Isn't he supposed to be learning at your knee or something like
he
that?
Can't
or-
learn. I'm too good. He can't learn. He doesn't
Wow.
know. You know, there's a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
Got to fade up, fade down.
I think, by the way,
Turn
you've
a mic on.
I think you've summed this up perfectly. Current board op, former board op, all listeners and viewers just bored with how this segment sort of petered out.
So real quick for you, Christmas tradition? In the
Not
Bubba
much. Really, it's sort of Christmas, but the most important thing we got going on right now is the 12th annual Avon Festivus Beer Pong Tournament coming up this weekend.
Oh,
nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so we celebrate Festivus.
Right.
Which is actually
That's
Saturday.
Saturday,
Yeah,
right,
the 23rd,
right.
and we're having the beer pong tournament. I'm a 4-time champ. No big deal.
4 out of 12 you've won.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty
you're
impressive. Yeah.
so you're in the Baseball Hall of Fame. You're batting
Yeah,
.333.
so,
Do you air
I'm hoping
for-
to make it 5.
For the Festivus before this tournament, do you air your grievances?
Sometimes, yeah.
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 You seem to be a guy that is always airing
Yeah,
grievances.
I know. It's
Wait,
really,
hold on. We have something else, Cliff?
Bubba, you still play beer pong beyond high school?
Oh, we play. Yeah, we play. Hey, it's nothing wrong with that.
Well, that was a shot, I
Yeah.
think that was.
This guy. Someone fed him that line.
This guy.
Someone fed him that line.
By the way, we have confirmed with our sales staff that Love It or Shove It will be back in the new year.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
Congratulations.
We'll be here.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Granger.
Yeah. There you go.
Great job, Granger.
Well done. That's getting it done.
Love It or Shove It with me, Cliff, not you.
Well, it sounds like you said that's Love It or Shove It with me, Cliff.
Oh, my gosh.
Like.
Speaking of traditions,
Yes.
should I come over Christmas Eve, Christmas Day? What do you want? What should we do?
Flag Day. We'll see on Flag Day.
Yeah, just tell ND Mom, tell G-Town Mom I'm coming over. It'll be great.
We've moved.
Yeah.
So.
We don't live here anymore.
No.
We're in the witness protection
We're in the process of moving. We don't have a home right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. We are actually not these people.
Yeah.
We're not who we say we are, and we have to go. Bubba, thanks very much.
Thanks.
All right. Hey, we'll
up,
see you next year. Granger.
Yeah. Absolutely. See you on Flag Day.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.